Hello and welcome to another episode of the Be S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. And I just have to tell you, I am really extra excited today to be talking with my special guest because not only is she an incredible entrepreneur and practitioner who also helps other practitioners grow their businesses, but she's also one of my besties. So I'm excited to dive in with all things Gina Schatz. Hi, Gina. How are you?
Hi, Heidi. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me as a guest.
I'm excited too. Can't wait to dive into the all things all about you. But before I do, I really want to share with everybody more about you and your background so that we can dive into some fun things as well as your journey as an entrepreneur. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. Gina Schatz is a board certified orthopedic bodywork therapist who believes it is possible to live in a world where all beings experience an exquisite relationship with their body and is on a mission to make that a reality by working clinically with her patients and training movement and manual practitioners in her trademarked method, which is called the Schatz method. So Gina, everybody has a story and I really want to share yours. How did you get started? Why did you become a practitioner? What brought you to this field?
Mm. It was an organic sort of unveiling, if you will. I really had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was maybe I thought I was going to be a dancer because I used to dance in my living room. And I realized that what I was really doing dancing wasn't to be a performer, it was to show my friends how to move that way. And so now that I look back and I realize that I became a practitioner to show people how to move and be pain-free in their body, it was really the same thing. I wasn't really up for the performing part of it as much as I was up for the service part of it. And so other than that, I didn't really have a career trajectory. I just knew I wanted to be college educated and be in service to people. And I tried a few different things. I was taking care of developmentally disabled children and adults while I was in college, thought that maybe that would be the way. But I also wanted to make a good living, and that was sort of a limited industry at the time. Physical therapy didn't quite light me up. So it just sort of became this like search for the thing
Mm.
until I got to that place in college. And truthfully, I still didn't find it. I created my own undergraduate degree and then went to school as a massage therapist and sort of blended the two together with my dance from the background. So I became a manual and movement practitioner trained as a exercise movement specialist, if you will.
I love how you shared that you shared that you created your own. Like you didn't you figured out what you wanted to do. It wasn't like your initial journey per se or exactly what you thought you wanted to do because I think we're all still evolving and trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up. We're
For
just
sure.
looking toward the faster we find our passion, the better. And you seem to have found that. And you created your own degree. How did that come about?
Well, yeah, I created my own degree, meaning like, once you're a junior or a senior, they tell you, okay, now you've declared your major and you're in this department now, and you follow all the steps and take all the courses in that major. But I was having a hard time declaring a major. I couldn't figure out what I wanted. And there was this new program that was just introduced. I feel like somehow the angels were supporting me. But there was this new program that was introduced at the time. They don't even have it anymore. And it was a self-designed undergraduate degree. So as long as I took the right credit hours in the right categories, I could go to any department and add those courses. I didn't have to be a declared XYZ. So for example, I took anatomy that the nurses were taking, but I wasn't in the nursing program. And I took biomechanics that physical therapists were taking, but I wasn't in the physical therapy program. And I took embryology and all these other courses. And all I had to do was petition to take them by showing them my grades from my previous semester. I was working with an advisor. He got to sign off on it and they were like, okay. So that's how it got created. I mean, I still have, technically it's a Bachelor of Arts degree, but it's all the coursework in it is my own organization, if you will. My own, I got to pick.
Yeah.
pick and
You have to
choose.
customize it for yourself.
I got to customize. That's the word I was searching for. That's customize.
And it seems pretty medically driven. So if you were taking courses that say the nurses were taking, but you weren't going for nursing school, then you have much deeper knowledge than say just a normal regular practitioner out there might have. Is that what brought you to or led you to creating your own method called the Schatz method?
No, that was a different path, but I have always been super entertained, hungry for, curious about the human body. Like since I was a little kid and we had encyclopedias. I know I'm dating myself, but we had encyclopedias and I was super like engrossed in the A book because it had these clear cellophane pages that, showed the bones and the muscles and the organs. So like even before I was college aged, I was already like super enticed, if you will, in what was going on inside here. But then once I was working as a practitioner, college degreed and licensed as a massage therapist and all the things, I was looking for just my next cut in life, if you will. And I moved to New York City and promptly hired a business coach because, got to swim with the big fish. And so I was in this year-long mastermind, a little nervous about it, actually. It was a big investment in myself and financially and all the things, but I was also ready for it. And so my coach said, "So what exactly do you do?" And I told her, "This is what I do for a living. This is how I'm licensed. This is the work that I do, da, da." And she said, "Oh, so what you're saying is you have a method." And I was like, "No, no, no. I didn't say I have a method. I mean, I'm trained and I am, I work as a practitioner. I do manual work. I do some movement work, but I kind of eye roll. Like New Yorkers make such a big deal out of everything, And she's like, "You have a method." And I was like, "I don't have a method. I'm just here to learn how to like monetize what I do. Cause, I want to move to the next cut." She's like, "No, no, you have a method." And I was like, "Oh my God, eye roll." And so just to really get her to like be quiet so we can move on with whatever was next for me and her business coaching, I agreed to go meet with a group of lawyers. So a general practice attorney, a patent attorney, and a trademark attorney. And the thing about having a patent or a trademark, you got to describe it. And I wasn't really that good at messaging at the time. So I was sort of like bumbling about, if you will, like, I don't know, I do this thing. Ugh. And they all said, yeah, you have something. We could probably patent it. It would take a while because, technically everyone has the same anatomy, same shoulder girdle, etc. But you definitely have a trademark. So we could just go for the trademark now if you want to, and then consider if you want to have a patent. And I remember feeling like the room was spinning, like someone took the table and spun it. And I was like, what? What do you mean I have a trademark? What does that mean? And I look back on that now and I'm like, "Oh, you're so cute. You didn't want to be big and seen. That's so cute." And now I'm like, "Yeah, I have a method, babes. Let's get at it. Let me share with you. So I went back to the business coach and I was like, "Okay, I have a method. Now what?" She's like, "Now you share it. Now you tell other people. You train them so that they can do the work that you do because somehow you figured it out." And I was like, "Oh." So I was still afraid to be seen as, I don't know, arrogant, or I have to have my name on something or whatever. And really, it's just about serving. It's just about, yes, I did figure it out. And I am generous with that. And I want you to have the answers as well. And I want you to get there quicker. And I don't want you to be holding yourself back like I did, because there's people in the world that get to have an exquisite relationship with their body. And we are the torchbearers for that. Those of us who do that for a living, it's up to us. And there's more people that aren't practitioners than that are, which means we get to serve our faces off. So yes, let me go share that with other practitioners and get it done.
Incredible. I love that you touched on a few different things there. One of them was hiring a mentor, which is super important. And I know
Oh,
people hire you, and I want to dive into that a little bit too, to help support them in building and growing their business in that space. And also basically you had the fear. They helped you move through the fear and also get you clear on the method. And by you actually taking action in diving into it and taking the steps you needed to take to get the trademark and all the things that went along with that, you got to get clear on your messaging. So there was so much growth in that amount of time as you were starting out. So what would you suggest for, because what we have women, female entrepreneurs that listen to this, and they could be starting out or looking to scale or getting ready for their next cut. What was one of your biggest challenges when you were stepping into your next cut, or when you were like beginning to move into the online space and taking your business out there into the world?
Well, I think I could not have done it without my coach. Absolutely not. I mean, I was, you hear me, I was being coached, paying for the privilege to be coached and telling her no. Like, come on. And I know you're an amazing coach, Heidi. And I know that, you know, when you and I have talked shop, we all get in our own way. And so if you love yourself enough, you will hire someone that you trust so that when you show up with resistance, you trust them to get you through it. And of course, the, you know, coach gets to be talented and effective in all the things, which you are. And even when we're with an effective coach, we can still be in the way. So you get to align with someone who's as strong as you or stronger, so that when you're met with your own resistance, you get through it, because all the resistance is doing is keeping you comfortable. And comfortable doesn't mean it's where you're going, it's where you've come from. So if you're up to something big in the world, or even up to just whatever's next for you in the world, and you don't even want to call it big, you can't get there by doing what you've done. Like we all know that phrase, right? Like doing it the way you've always done is going to get you the results you've always had. So yes, you get to hire somebody, and that is super interesting, right? Like, yes, I serve as a mentor as well. And as soon as people invest in themselves, their resistance shows up. It's like buyer's remorse, but it's not what did I buy that I'm remorseful about? It's, am I willing to get out of my own comfort zone and go somewhere next? Or do I really want to stay committed to where I am because it's comfortable, even though it's not ultimately what I want? And that's a super interesting moment. Like, you know, you and I have heard in the trainings that we've, you know, used for ourselves to evolve to the next place to be a good provider. We've been taught that, you know, your transformation begins the moment you commit to it, not the first time you take a class or first time you have a meeting with your coach. And so what is that transformation? Isn't the transformation, it usually is what's in my way. Look at all the ways that I'm filled with resentment, remorse, buyer's remorse, judgment, nervousness, feeling like I'm going to throw up because I don't deserve it. Like all of that is before you ever meet with your mentor or your coach. And that's in the way for real. So yes, I couldn't have done it without a coach. Absolutely. And how do you move through the fear? I don't know that I moved through the fear at that time. I mean, I kind of look back. I was just thinking about this weekend, actually. Funny, this is coming up in our conversation. I was actually thinking that I get to send a love letter to that coach, because I know I wasn't easy. I know I wasn't easy because I was so committed to my fear instead of my vision. And I don't even know that I had the words for that then. I knew that I wanted something bigger because where I was so uncomfortable, familiar, but uncomfortable. And I didn't want that anymore, but I didn't know what I did want. Right. And so I think that, and I was strong and powerful. So I think, you know, you're either powerful in where you're going or you're powerful where you're stuck. And I think I was powerful where I was stuck, and that could not have made me an easy client. Could not. And yet she was stronger than me, or stronger than my resistance. And then boom, you know, I met with these attorneys, and then the ball just started rolling faster than I could, you know, it was like a Flintstones car. You know, the wheels were just going at that point. I was like, I'm just here for the ride. You know, I have a trademark. I have what? And then, yes, you just go the next step. And I think once you get after that first boulder, whatever is in the way, whether it's you or some other piece of story, once you get past that and you get in touch with your vision, it is a ride, because the universe will conspire to meet you when you're clear with what you want. I mean, that's straight out of The Alchemist, you know, when you're clear about what you want, the universe will show up and say, here you go. And then just go take the ride. And what a beautiful ride it is when you're not in the freaking way.
It is amazing and incredible.
Did I get to all your questions? I know you asked me a couple.
You did. What you mentioned a lot there, and I want to share some background with our listeners, because Gina and I met in a leadership program we were coaching in, and we were on the same coaching team together and went through massive transformations during that. We started as students ourselves in that container, and then we decided to keep going And we got to do that through mentorship, through with the students who were also moving through that. And as we were going through the training, as far as coaches, we were up leveling and we were hitting our next cuts. And you had mentioned something in your last comments about the transformation begins when you invest in yourself, and it starts there. And it's so true, because that's one thing we had to invest to become students inside this program container, and literally things would happen, like the resistance comes in, because that's part of the training, right, Gina? Like the resistance comes in as soon as we invest in ourselves, which is what you said, especially when it's out of our comfort zone with the investment, because then it's like real and it's scary, and we immediately want to retract that. We're like, okay, what do we do? Because the fear kicks in. What if it doesn't work? Well, at the end of the day, it's up to us for it to work, right? We are not only are we putting the money down or whatever that investment looks like, but that's for us to step into us showing up in order to do the work to get the results we want. And like you said, getting really clear on the vision of what we want to get there. And if we have a big vision, it's going to be super scary. There's going to be a ton of stuff that comes up because that vision is so big, and we're going to have to really step out of our comfort zone, probably most likely multiple times, in order to get there. So I loved how you shared all of that, because fear shows up every time we're hitting the next. I noticed it with me. I don't think it ever goes away, because if unless we stay stuck, like you said, and we could be committed to being stuck, because stuck is uncomfortable. And I see that with clients many times. It's like they're scared to take action on the next step because they're comfortable where they are. And it's easier to stay stuck and come up with the excuses versus taking the action in order to get the results, because it's super scary. And then what if we do it wrong? When we do it wrong, which is in quotation marks, because it's really never wrong. It's the next step. Is if you feel it's the wrong step, it's the right step to get you closer to changing that path to get to where you want to go. Step, right?
100%. Yeah. I could go on.
Go ahead, go dive in, because I love this leadership talk. This is where and Gina, if you ever need some leadership coaching, Gina is the master. We have an accountability call every week, and she's always coaching me and supporting me and pulling me out of my stuff. Because like I said, the fear is always there. And whenever we're moving to the next step, it's super scary. So we're going to get to how you can get in Gina's world. But just to let you know, not only is she a master practitioner, but she's also master leader of leaders.
Heidi, you're so generous. Well, the point that you also get to hear, all of you lovely beings who are hearing us, is that we have an accountability call because you're also my accountability buddy, Heidi. And you have a way of like, oh no, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot until you reminded me. Thank you, Heidi. You just have this amazing way of like lovingly redirecting the vision super quick. I love that about you. Like I can be dark and stormy, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. She just reminded me. That's right. So yeah, super powerful. One of the things that you said about, fear is, there's two things I wanted to say. One was about whether it works, and the other one was about our ego. So I always like to go with physiology, right? So like the way we're designed, again, I'm a body anatomy geek. So the way we're designed always answers my questions, because I believe that we were designed divinely. So if I follow my design, I will find the answers. And one of the ways that we're designed is with an ego. And, the ego gets a really bad rep, like, oh, so egocentric. But the truth is that the ego is what keeps you alive. The ego is the one that says, run from the bear. The ego is the one that says this isn't going to work. And that's to keep you safe. And so as long as we make friends with the ego and know that we have an ego that's keeping us safe, but that it doesn't get to make the final decision, then we're back into the power seat and not rejecting who we are or how we show up, but embracing who we are and how we show up and evolving. So the difference between our anatomy and other creatures on the planet is that we have a consciousness. So we get to evolve with our beingness, right? So fear is a thing, but that doesn't mean stop. It means my ego's working, thankfully, so I won't die today. Great. And what's next, right? And the what's next is the leadership. That's the mind ninja. That's the way that we train ourselves, because we have an ego, how to use our mind. And if we're not doing that as humans, we miss the mark. We're just sort of like amoebas, just letting our anatomy work the way it works instead of being the leader in it, because we have this consciousness, the spirit. And that leads me to when you said, you know, when we're afraid of the investment, like, is the training going to work? Is the coaching going to work? Is the method going to be the answer? Is it going to work? You tapped on it. Like, it's going to work if you show up for it. And also, what a powerless position to be in, to think that something outside of you has to do the working. You're the worker. You're the being that takes it all in and transforms yourself and then produces. You're the person. You're the one that gets to align with someone else. And that's, again, part of our anatomy. We're interdependent by design. Our heart and our lungs are both equally outstandingly awesome, amazing organs that 100% depend on each other for us to breathe. 100%. So in our own rights, we're amazing, wonderful creatures that need nothing more and each other at the same time. We are interdependent, which is why coaching and finding a mentor is so important. So it's not that the coach does it for you, or the program strategy check boxes is going to be the answer. What a lazy way to approach transformation and something big. We get to do the work. So how could it not work? I mean, that's like saying I don't rely on myself or trust myself to wonder if something outside of me is going to, quote unquote, work. You're going to work because you work. Is this a whole thing? Freaking fabulous. Of course it's going to work. And smart enough to align with a mentor and a savvy coach, baby, the world's yours. Just show up and do it.
Yeah. Well, can you repeat what you just said about the work? The work works. What did you say? It was just like right before you did the whole fabulousness thing. It was so good. It was so good. I was like, that was like a mic drop. And and then you got me all distracted with your fabulousness. But I got to go back to that, and we're going to put that in the show notes because it was so good. So yeah, you get to show up and do the work, and we can literally spend hours unpacking this even deeper: victim versus responsibility, and showing up and doing the work, empowering yourself to actually move toward getting the results and not relying on anything else. Because when something's not working, whether it's in our life or our business, at the end of the day, it starts with us, right? How are we showing up? We're attracting that, or that's showing up for us. We're like all mirrors. And that's something that I know every week, not necessarily every week, but very often you and I are talking about weekly on our accountability calls, because we're going through our own stuff and journey. And we're like, okay, how are we creating this? How are we showing up that this is showing up for us? And many times we'll forget it ourselves, right? It's easy to remember it when we're coaching or supporting others. That's why we do this every week, to support each other. But it's harder when it's on our own selves, because we can get stuck in, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me instead of for me, and looking toward, okay, something bigger and better is coming for me.
Right, exactly. And, I just coached on that this morning, actually, in one of my groups. And I would love us to even go the next step, because I kind of feel like this is happening for me instead of to me is beautiful and a little like 2022. Mm-hmm. And what I'd love for us to see is it's happening because it gets to show you what's next for you. Not happening because, oh, there you did it again. There's like a little bit of reprimand that comes with I created this, I sourced this, it's happening for me so that I could, begrudgingly grow into my next step. No, none of that. It's happening because, yes, it might seem exactly like what happened 10 or 7 years ago. And I'm new and improved now, which means that I get to show up differently now to the exact same circumstances, and trust myself and trust the universe and trust the process, that it's going to have, of course, a different outcome, because I am committed to that. Instead of there you go again, there's a little bit of like rinse and repeat. No, there's always something next. There's always something next. We have scratched the surface of our potential. We are so tiny compared to our size. It's incredible. We are so much more for us, all of us.
Yeah, that's so good. And I got this image when you said that, and now I'm going to start using that. Maybe we can bring it into our calls on Monday. Okay. When instead of it seeing it as a door closing or a road block, when that shows up, actually looking at it as a door opening, because it's in stepping, and we get to step through it.
Oh, I just got chills. And what do you get to do to step through it? You get to be courageous. You get to be powerful. You get to be willing. You get to be brave. You get to be excited. You get to be vision driven. That's the only way you're going to walk through that door and be somebody new instead of who you've always been up until now. Oh yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. That's
so
good,
good.
Heidi.
Yes, this is so good. And you get to ask for support when you need it, because that's one thing I did, was a lone wolfer, and I'm still stepping through that and still moving through that. And like yesterday, I'll share it with all of you. Gina was my support, and I reached out to her yesterday on a Sunday, and I don't like doing that because I like to have everybody to have their weekend and stuff. But I recently hurt my back a couple weeks ago, and Gina's been helping me the last couple weeks, but I haven't asked for support as much as I should have, so I regressed. And yesterday something happened. I regressed a little bit, and I immediately was like, no, I'm not going to sit in this till tomorrow. I get to reach out now. And she immediately responded and she supported me, and I felt great. So Gina's like not only an amazing human, but she's also an amazing friend, and she's an amazing, incredible practitioner. She really knows her stuff. So let's get back to you, Gina, and your business and how you help people, and also how you help your practitioners. For any of those practitioners listening who want to take their business to the next level, how do you support them, and how do they get to, reach out to you to work with you?
Mm. Oh, well, I'm doing the work and utilizing the method. And I also train practitioners to use the method in whatever they're doing. Are you still there? Are you with me?
I'm here.
Okay, great. And so, yeah, I, I work with clients in the city that I'm in, and I also do some remote work, which is what you were just mentioning. Like I can be over the internet for sure. I just need to have, the ability to see you. And that's of course what we did. And I am super proud of you for asking for support, Heidi, because you get to ask for support. So yes, yay you, amazing. Because again, interdependent by design, we get to have each other in this lifetime. And then as far as practitioners go, from starting at the starting gate of like training in more anatomy, applicable anatomy though, because like I said, I took anatomy all over the board in all kinds of departments. And I love nurses and I love the nursing profession and I love their anatomy. And it's not as applicable to the work that I do. So I feel like as an endless topic, which the body is, to serve practitioners really well, I get to serve them in the type of anatomy that would serve them being a practitioner. So I have an online academy, and that's the coursework that I have available. How to apply anatomy to what you're doing as a practitioner. And then I also have, my favorite is my year-long mastery track, which is for practitioners who are already working and looking to work easier and smarter and effectively. Most of us are looking for more competence. Most of us are looking for the ability to get rid of pain instead of just dabble around symptoms a bit. And the method works. I mean, that's how we got a trademark. So I love walking practitioners through that year-long track. It's a very rigorous, immersive program that shakes the can, and you're not the same when you leave as when you started. And if you're, again, willing to walk through the doorway and be open to that, it's transformative in the most amazingly powerful way. And I show practitioners how I work clinically and how to apply it to the work that they do, right? So if they're Pilates or yoga or massage therapists, it applies across the board. And so I help them hone it to customize for them how they would apply it to the work that they do already. So it sounds a little esoteric, but the truth is that there's a methodology, there's anatomy that goes with it, and then I support practitioners to make it implementable, is that a word, for the work that they do, so they can get back to doing what they love, right?
Yeah, and also build a really lucrative business in the process. I know you help them with that too, because the mindset piece is huge for any entrepreneur, in really stepping into our worth and being paid what our worth is. And you have created in like a rigorous, like you said, program, because you're training them to be the best in their space, in their area, so they can get compensated for that, correct?
100%. Yeah, I say I take really great practitioners and I make them excellent industry specialists. And that will only work if they're earning money or earning a living that matches that. Because if we are super smarty pants, but in survival mode, that erodes our confidence, which makes us not as creative and open to thinking about problem solving when someone walks in with back pain or calls you on a Sunday or whatever. So you get to have both, right? It's actually a break in our own integrity to be super knowledgeable, highly trained, and then fear-based survival and hiding that in our real life. Like in our real life, they're supposed to be the same. You as a practitioner and however you show up in the world is meant to be integrated, that all of you shows up for that.
Mm.
So yeah, I started teaching professional development in the mastery track from the very beginning. And I did it on a very like DL, like on the down low. And I remember feeling weird about it. But again, I had invested tens of thousands of dollars in my business coach, the first one, right? And I've had lots since then. And I just knew that there was something there for other practitioners who maybe weren't going to make that investment in business coaching, because my industry tends to not do that. You know, it's like, I don't know, we spend more money on continuing education for anatomy, but not on the business end of it. It's just the way the industry CEs are set up. So I thought, okay, good. Well, I can add some value here and bring them new information that they didn't have before. But I was a little DL about it, like I said. And interestingly enough, I got feedback from one of my first practitioners whose husband was weirded out by it. Like, what do you mean you're talking about raising your rates and da da da? And I realize now that his questioning was my questioning. And then fast forward to a year ago, I got so much feedback from mastery graduates who had said this professional development was no joke. Like, I'm no longer working 80 hours a week, 7 days a week, never seeing my family. I'm on 3 vacations now and doing better work. Like, what would I have done if I hadn't had the professional development part? And I realized, oh yeah, I get to be seen and heard about that now. I get to brag about it. And look, I already forgot it. So being seen is something we get to be reminded of, Heidi. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I get
Absolutely.
to be
You're
heard
welcome. And really, I think that's one thing that really sets you apart from other. I don't know if there's whoever else is in your space, but with your program, you told me you did that, and I thought it was, as a business coach, I thought it was genius and so spectacular that you include that in your program, because like you said, when you're going through school and you're learning a certain, like, especially with what you do, you're learning the anatomy, you're learning the body, you're learning the mechanics, but you're not taught how to run a business. You're not taught to really you're not taught any of that. And I love that you bring that professional piece into it, the professional development piece and leadership into your program for your students, for your practitioners. So if you're a practitioner listening, reach out to Gina, definitely get in touch with her. If you're ready to level up your business and level up your game in your space, she's your go-to, no joke, because she's helping me. And I'm virtual as it like just she's moving me through exercises and I'm blown away. If I was definitely a practitioner, I would have jumped on board. So thank you for Gina for helping me out. And I know you're going to help out so many more people. Let's go into let's get to know Gina a little bit as a human, as a person, because we know you're super brilliant, super talented, and super smart. What are some fun facts about Gina?
Oh, Heidi, do you remember our game? Do you remember our game, Two Truths and a Lie?
Yeah, back from leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yes, I do.
Remember.
I thought I do. Because you know why I remember? Because I really didn't like it. Because I'm like, I gotta think about, like, it's so hard to think, because everybody was so creative, and I'm like, oh my God, I started sweating. Talk about getting out of your comfort zone. I'm like, now I got to be heard, and I got to come up with something creative, because now I was putting myself in a competition. So I do remember that game.
I remember you saying, oh my gosh, that is so cool. I want to be friends with you. And I was like, good, because I want to be friends with you too.
It was so
and
good.
And the feedback was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually kind of fun. That's kind of nice to have that feedback. So thank you for that. Yeah. So I feel like your question is like a 2 truths and a lie question. I can just rattle off a couple things, but do you want to play 2 truths and a lie?
I do remember one of yours, and it was I remember being blown away, because I thought it was, I think I chose that as a lie, and it was total truth.
Which one?
Well, I want you to share it.
I don't remember which one. We've played that game a few times
You're
now
a
already.
race car driver.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hello.
I was like, what? I think a bunch of us chose that too as your lie, and it was so true. We were just floored. We were blown away. I was like,
Yeah.
she is like a rock star.
I loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah. My first Audi that I owned, I sold it with the racing sticker on the windshield still. And I was like, I hope they don't scrub it off. But of course, why wouldn't they? Yeah, I love that little thing. And I love, you know what I loved? I loved that one day I was at the racetrack and there was this BMW driver.
Mm.
And I just thought, oh, you know what? BMWs and Audis are like nose to nose. So they think that, we're less than. Smoked him. Smoked him.
Go. Look at you. Of course you did.
But I could never beat a vet though. I still haven't yet.
We're working on that.
Yeah. Might not happen in this lifetime. I'm cool with it though. It's good.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I know you pretty well, but maybe you can stump me. If I know them, we're gonna let that be the feedback that the listeners get to come to you if they can guess your two truths and a lie. So do you have some?
Oh, two truths and a lie right now.
Yeah, if you have it, or just tell us some fun facts.
Some fun
I
facts.
already shared your race car driver one.
Yeah, I feel like I share that one a lot. I do like racing, performance racing, not speed racing, by the way, because apparently there's a difference, and I want to just be really clear about that. It doesn't have to be fast; it has to be effective. That's my motto. So
that's
let's
great for business too. That's another mic drop that we're going to add in the show notes. It doesn't have to be fast. Like, don't worry about how fast you're moving. Enjoy the journey. Just needs to be effective, right? You get to be effective.
Yeah, and effective does have some speed to it, right? Like I couldn't do 35 miles an hour on the track because that wouldn't be effective. It would be, bottlenecking everybody else and potentially causing an accident. So you do have to move with some speed, but speed isn't the only objective.
You
It's
get to
like
take action.
how smoothly can you get around the turns without blowing out your brakes and your tires and still get to the finish line in time? Like that's effective. That's like elegance and grace and
That's sexy.
skill and sexy with speed, right? I mean, that's the kind of racing I like to do for real. Yeah. So that's I can't think of any others right now. I don't know. I'm feeling performance anxiety in this very second. Like,
okay, let's go to your dancing then. You mentioned dancing, that you love to dance. I love to dance too. Like, we can definitely cut a rug on the dance floor and, definitely crush it. What's your favorite kind? Like, whether it's your favorite music or favorite dance style. Do you have one?
oh, that's such a big question. It's like asking me my favorite music. I feel like all of it, and there's always caveats to all of it, right? Like I love freestyle, just get out of my way and give me enough room to swing my arms, which are super long, like gorilla arms.
Clear the floor. Gina's in town.
And I feel like my arms are so long that my knuckles must drag on the floor because every time I move my arms, I feel like I bump somebody on the dance floor. So I do need enough space, which is not conducive to partner dancing, which I also love. I love a guy that's a good leader because again, with all that force, you got to be a strong leader. You got to tell me where you're coming in, or I may step on your toe inadvertently. So I do like that. Like I love a guy that like takes me off my feet and makes me feel like, wow, how did I get here? And I've also dabbled a tiny, I think I took like 2 classes with a girlfriend of mine here locally in tango. Whoa, if you guys haven't tried tango yet, you must try tango. Like amazing. And then as a body worker, my first dance was belly dancing because it was all about isolating body parts and engaging muscles basically. I didn't know that at the time, but I didn't know that about the dance, but it makes so much sense that that would be my natural form of dance that I gravitated towards and taught for many years, many years.
I had no idea about that about you.
What?
You did belly dancing. I had no idea. And then you also taught it?
I did. I had a studio for many years.
Oh, we might have to have a session on our accountability call. Little Monday morning breakout belly dance session. That's kind of cool.
So good. So good.
Oh my gosh. So if Alex is listening, Alex, get ready because she's on our accountability call too. We'll just surprise her actually.
Okay.
That's so good. I would have guessed. I don't know if I would have chosen that as a truth if you said belly dancing. Yeah, I just never knew that about you. That's so cool. So, well, thank you for sharing that. So, any men that want to dance with Gina, make sure you show up as a strong leader because she's a leader of leaders. So she wants to be led on the dance floor, however.
Good too.
Good to know. So
Thank
how do
you.
we find you, Gina? How do we get more of you in our space and in our life? And how do we get to reach out to you?
Yeah, anybody can reach out anytime if there's a way I can be of service, even if you just want to, bounce some ideas off. I'm open to that. I don't like the idea of pick your brain and, come with an agenda and some clarity about what your question is so I can be of support to you. I really like to get to it. But my website is Gina at ginaschatz.com. I know that is not phonetic. You get to spell it. I get it. It's not Smith. It's easy though. It means treasure. So it's, dear to my heart. I do like my name, even though it isn't Smith. But Gina at ginaschatz.com is my website. And anybody that's, wanting to get on my calendar because they have a question and they want some support or coaching around that. I shared my calendar link with you, Heidi. Can I share that here or just tell? Okay, you got it.
We'll have all of your links, and if any of you want to reach out to Gina, we have all of her links in the show notes. But her last name is spelled Schatz. So if you're looking at Gina, what did you say your website's ginaschatz.com?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's that's how you spell her name. And how do we find you on social, Gina?
Oh, Facebook, Instagram, are my two most frequented visits, I would say. Those are the two places. Instagram is usually my favorite.
Awesome. So check her out, follow her on social, go check out her website, shoot her a DM, let her know you heard her here and you want to get to know her more. Come, like she said, ask a question. She's super laser. That's one of Gina's gifts as well. She's super laser, so she's very respectful of time. So please respect hers and come with a question that you need support on. And also get on her calendar. Get on our calendar for sure and make an appointment with Gina. I call her lovingly G. Lovingly G. So thank you, G, for being here with me today. I'm so grateful for you and your time. You are just so special to me, and you're so incredibly brilliant and loving and supporting. And I know whoever gets to be in your world is super, super blessed. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. You fill my cup up so much, girl. I just adore you. And I love what you're doing in the world. This is so amazing what you're creating for women. Thank you for allowing me to be part of it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So grateful to have you. And I love you. And for you listening, thank you so much for joining my Gina and I today on the Be She podcast. Go be seen, be heard, and empowered. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.